Good morning. I'm going to check and try to pin this to the top. I usually try to do that every time. Okay. There we go. Morning. Oopsie. All right, let's see if I can pin to the top. Okay. Should be up there now for anyone who's looking. I try to pin them to the top so they're really easy to find every week. Okay. So we'll just wait for some friends to join us. I'm going to grab a couple things in the meantime. Grab some light of navy. Mossy Meadow. Blackberry Bliss might even be a good one. Good morning, whoever is out there. Oops, thank you for joining me today. Let's see, Lori and Julie. Good morning, ladies. Hope you're both well. It's got a brand new pack of Blackberry Bliss out, so let's make sure I have it opened. Rainy Ohio. Oh geez, I hope that doesn't mean we're going to get your rain tomorrow. That's usually what happens. We get your weather and Little Rock's weather, depending on which one. Usually 24 hours later. Although we did have rain yesterday, so I'm really hoping for no rain tomorrow. It is a little bit sunny out, at least today, so we have that going for us. Good morning, Joanne. So I've got Joanne. Hi, Fran. Good morning, Karen. Yeah, lots of Ohio people on here, huh? Ohio is on the ball. That's awesome. So today, what I thought we would do, and I forgot to get one of the things, that's why I'm looking up. Today what I thought we would do is we could work on some bases with Whisper White, but two different ways, because I thought of a different idea while I was actually getting prepared in the ideas in my head today. Hi, Brina. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Angela. Thank you for joining. So I have a couple ideas, and then I have a couple other ideas for what we could do to make things kind of tone on tone, because that is a really simple way to make a card, and it gives a lot of impact without a lot of supply. So that's what I'm trying to go for. Just in case, I know the thing is right now, it's kind of a transitional time, because we are going to be, and I want to mention one other thing before we go too much farther. Celebration ended yesterday. This catalog will be ending, I believe it's June 2nd. So this is the last time you can order out of this catalog. More importantly, the in colors, some of them are going to be retiring. Now, the retirement list will come out at the end of the month. Towards the end of the month, not at the end, but pretty close. So just to share with you, in case you don't know this or you missed it, these colors here, Blueberry Bushel, Call Me Clover, Pineapple Punch, Grapefruit Grove, and Lovely Lipstick, do have a very real possibility that they're going to be retiring and they're going to be gone. So at the very, very least, if you have a stamp pad in any of these colors, make sure you buy the refill, okay? Because you can at least re-ink your pad. You could refill your markers if you need to. I know there's been some things saying don't refill your markers, but I've done it. I haven't had any problems. So I guess that's up to you. I'll leave that in your hands to decide. But these colors are going to be gone. So at least if you love a color, buy the ink refill. And the reason I say this is because I speak from experience, and I'm going to tell you which re-inkers. It was the Crisp Cantaloupe year. So Crisp Cantaloupe, Strawberry Slush, what other one was there? Baked Brown Sugar. I didn't buy the refills because it was before I was a demonstrator. And I paid a lot more than I would like to admit on eBay to get 5 re-inkers. I don't even want to say how much I spent, but let's just say I probably could have bought a stamp set for the price of 5 re-inkers. So please, I am asking you now, if you love these colors, maybe you only love one of them. Maybe Blueberry Bushel is your favorite. Buy the re-inker at least so you don't end up sad and spending way too much money on eBay. And maybe you won't. You'll just be like, oh, I can never use this color again. But it's reasonable. The ink refills are $3.75. And let me tell you, I have quite a few ink refills that I have had probably as long as I've been a demonstrator. The only one I've ordered recently was Crumb Cake, because this one is almost empty. I must re-ink it a lot. Otherwise, they last for years. So you can re-ink for a while. If you really are nervous about it, you could even buy 2 re-inkers. That way you'll have them. But worst case scenario, you re-ink. So that's my public service announcement. These colors are going to be retiring. They may carry over. I don't know. I'm not saying that they won't, but I can't imagine. It takes a lot for an ink color to become a color. They usually like to switch to something different. So at least get the re-inkers. Worst case scenario, you'll have the ink. Okay, so you ordered the ink color refills. I do that all the time. And the nice part is, I don't know if they did that. They used to do it where you could buy all 5. I think they're singles now. Because typically you can buy like all 5 pads, all 5 markers, but they haven't sold all 5 re-inkers. So just get all 5 re-inkers if you like the colors. If you don't, But also, fun fact here, if you do have the re-inkers and say down the road you're like, I really don't like Call Me Clover anymore, you could sell it and then you would be able to sell the person the re-inker as well. So it's kind of like a little added bonus. But anyway, so what we're going to do today is we are going to kind of play with a couple things. I got a few things out that I thought would be fun. Also, one other thing. I have these we're going to give away. So it's the Ladybug dies and the Ladybug stamp set. So I'm going to say this. We're going to just do it on this video. So make sure, if you haven't already, that you type in a comment. And I'm going to pick someone and I'm going to give this away. Okay? So little Ladybug stamp set. And I will say one other thing. I did not mail out my prizes that I picked from last Friday. It's been a crazy, crazy day. So crazy couple days, I should say. So I just haven't had the chance yet. But I promise I will mail them out this week for sure. So the stamp sets that I got out to play with today, I got out 2 different ones. I got Good Morning Magnolia, and I got Rooted in Nature, because I thought these would be kind of easy to make a card that looks cool with not a lot of effort, not a lot of surprise, okay? Not a lot of supplies, not surprises. I also got out, just in case, So Sentimental. And I did get out a couple things because I thought this would be easy. Buffalo Check, Crackle Paint, Birch, and All Wired Up, okay? As a matter of fact, I think I got All Wired Up. I did. I got All Wired Up, and I don't think I've ever used it. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to use white craft paint. So if you don't have that, that'll be the only supply maybe you would need. So I have had this one for a really long time. As you can see, the front of this is really old. I got this one at the same time that I got, what's the other color? Elegant Eggplant. I loved that color. I love that one, and green. So basically, this is what we're going to use today, and then we'll add some color over it. Because I have an idea, but I haven't ever done it before, so we'll see how it is going to work, okay? So, I saw what Donna said. Donna, it's not even me. It's just, there's the home from school thing, while I do love it, it is a lot to manage and to be able to make, like, do this. I thought I'd be able to do more videos, and no, it's just not working out. Not working out that way. So, okay, so anyway, I have these here. So those will be a giveaway for sure. What's a couple other things I have? Let me put these on the side. Just don't want to knock anything over. So I thought what we will start with is I have Night of Navy, Blackberry Bliss, and Mossy Meadow, because those are going to be our dark colors. And I'm going to try something. One of these things I've been thinking about for a while, but I keep forgetting, so I've never done it before. So we'll see how it works. So let me move this out of the way. And move these. And I'm going to flip you down. So, if you get sick, just turn away for a moment. I'm going to flip the camera. And I'm going to pop you down. You know, I probably could be a really good homeschool teacher to other children. Not that mine's bad. It's just, I'm sure you all know this. I'm not the most organized person. You know, a person that likes doing things on the fly. Just kind of goes to show you, we are flipped, by the way, so you can look back. Kind of goes to show you that I have a lot of creativity that just pops in at any time, but that also sometimes lends to the fact that I don't do things in a very structured or organized way, which, you know, isn't always a great thing. All right, so let me see. Okay, just trying to make this straight, sorry. All right, so I do have a paper towel, a wet paper towel, so I can at least wipe some stuff off with the white craft ink, because we all know that white craft ink can be a little bit messy. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to do, and I have my idea, so I'm going to do 2 navy. So this is just probably a quarter piece. Well, it will be a quarter piece. It's a half sheet. And we're going to see, I'm not sure how many will get assembled, but I will definitely do them after the fact. So that's a mossy piece. And then I want to grab my brand new Blackberry Bliss packet. Happy April 1st, everyone. I know a lot of my friends are trying to think of pranks for their children for April Fools, but at this point, I don't know what could possibly get more foolish than what we're actually involved in. So I told my one friend, I said, you better be nice to your children. They're going to pick your nursing home. So I'm going to cut this to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to do that for both. And I'm going to attempt to do 2 for each, but we'll kind of see. Because it just depends on time-wise how we run. Let me make sure, see if this is cut. Nope, let me trim this to 4. And Amy, I did see on there you wanted to ask me a question. I apologize. If I missed it, I will go back and check at the end. You can also feel free to email me. Amy is one of my club members, so you can email or text me. I am also trying to figure out what to do with my club, because I think I'm going to do a monthly club for April, I should say, as Mother's Day, and then maybe we'll do May as Father's Day. But I haven't 100% settled on the exact card stamp set yet. All right, so let's get started. So my thoughts were, let me see, grab these 4. I'm going to grab these 4 for now. And I'm going to do different ones. Let me grab this other. This one we're going to use that once as well. And maybe we'll use this. Maybe we'll use these leaves for the other one. So what I'm going to do, these I'm going to do one of these definitely with mossy. I'm going to do both of those with mossy. So I'm going to separate those out. I'm just trying to kind of get a game plan of what I want to do here. I'll do one of the navies with the crackle paint. Buffalo check I think might be a little too much, so I'm actually going to skip this one. Birch I think might be cool with the Blackberry Bliss. And then I have these 2 left. So we'll kind of see what we're going to do. We might not do all 6, so let's see. So my idea for the first, let me go with what I thought would be a cool idea first. So number 1, we're going to do this one first, because we are going to need these time to dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to stamp them, set them aside, and then we're going to come back and do what we were going to do to them afterwards. Now, this is a rather large stamp, so if for some reason you don't have the very humongous block that this goes on, you could use your Stamparatus. This one won't fit on block, what is this? E, but it will get on the one that's the background because it's pretty big, so F. So you could put it on F, you could put it in your Stamparatus if it's easier, just kind of depends on what you're going for. So I have my white towel, only because I'm trying to keep my chamois a little cleaner for now. So I have my my wet paper towel and then my lint-free towel. So I'm going to start off with this. My white craft ink. Now, if you buy this new, it does come now uninked. It comes with the re-inker, so all you do is just add it to fill it up. It does stay very wet. This is a pigment ink, so you have to allow this time to dry. That's the difference. All the rest of our inks are dye inks. This is a pigment ink, so it doesn't dry quite as fast, but it's a really great ink for lots of cool techniques. You can also, if you wanted to, take this up another notch by adding white embossing powder to this and embossing it. Or you could do clear since it's already white. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to put this on like this. And I'm going to kind of off-center it just for a moment so you understand. So this one is one of the ones I'm going to try the white ink, then a color ink on top of it. Now, I have to wait for it to dry, so I'm not exactly sure. I've never done this before, so hopefully it looks good. Give it a little CPR there. Okay, so even that by itself is really cool. So we're going to set that one on the side. I'm just going to wipe this off. You could use your chamois, but just remember you're going to really have to rinse it out because it kind of makes it a little bit extra dirty. Turn this over. All right, so that's going to be number 1. I'm going to just set this on top here. I'm going to flip this though, so it's not damp. Then we wanted to do Rooted in Nature. So I'm going to grab 2, oops, I forgot to take the sticker off of this. I think I have these separated into 2 different ones. So I have 2 different ones, so I'm just going to pull out the leaves for this. And I'm going to just go random for these. Okay, so I'm going to start with the bigger one. And again, I'm going to try to tap lightly because this white craft ink, it can, if you dip too hard, it will kind of get gummy. So it just doesn't give you a crisp image. So just tap lightly, pinkies up. Just moving in different directions. You can also, if you don't want to move your stamp in different directions, you can turn your paper. Very cool technique, just like this on its own. All right, so I'm going to do enough with that one. Let me just wipe this off a little bit. So I'm kind of wiping it with the wet paper towel and then wiping it onto my lint-free towel, cloth, whatever it is you want to call it. So just be careful when you do this because if you get any ink on your fingers or if you touch these leaves, they will smudge. You can even do one stamped off. And see, it does definitely have some nice staying power. The only thing you want to avoid, so here, when I stamped this, I got a little bit of a line there because I didn't stamp it fully. So just kind of watch where you are. If you think there's a part that you might not have stamped, so for this one, if you stamp again, you're going to have that corner piece there. Just kind of be mindful. But looks pretty, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Okay, so there's that. So again, that's just with the leaves and Rooted in Nature. We're going to set that one on the side. Keep wanting to close this, and I don't mean to close that. Let me move over here for a sec. All right, so now let's try one with a background. I'm going to do crackle paint first. Now for this one, I tend to do this with these stamps in the background. You can see they're still pretty, little bit of ink in there. I tend to just leave these in the case because they're so large. Now you certainly can use the large background stamp block, which is this one. I think I said this one was F. Yes, so this F fits the background stamps, but quite honestly, a lot of times I just leave them in the case and do it this way. So I'm just going to ink the background. And then you could take it out and rinse it under the sink when you're done. So when you do this, only other thing you want to do, because you're pressing down, is you want to make sure you have a scrap paper. So I'm just going to grab a scrap, put this down. Make sure wherever you put it, you're going to leave it. So just set it with intention and drop it. And then press the whole background. Make sure you press on the whole thing. You want to get super in there. You could even use your bone folder. Make sure you get all the parts. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. So there's that. Now I have done this one actually once before where I put white embossing powder on it. I did miss the line down here, so I probably could have lined the edge up a little bit more, but let's see if we can just go in and good enough. Grab a little bit for that one. So then same thing again, you'll just wet this. This is just now my very slightly wet paper towel. And I'm just going to wipe it off the rest of the way with my cloth. And then later on, because this also has some other ink in there that I can see, you could also do this with navy. You could do navy on navy. I'm going to take this to the sink and rinse it later. So that is that one. And then we'll try the crackle paint. I'm sorry, the birch. That was the crackle paint. Losing my marbles here. I'm just going to move this one a little bit. This is one, I think this is a cling stamp. I probably should have touched this to something before I put it in there, because that big cling stamp is really, really sticky. I just wanted to make sure it was a little bit straighter. So now I'm going to take my ink again. And this one, I'm going to try what I was telling you about on the other one. So I'm going to go back after the fact and do this again in Blackberry Bliss on top, just because I want to see what it looks like. I want to get this knot down here a little bit better. Okay, so same thing again. I do want to try to get the knot. So I'm going to put this down just like that. I'm just going to grab that same scrap paper that I used earlier. Press. Hope everyone's doing well out there. I know that here in Maryland, we are now supposed to stay in our homes, only going out for essentials, which we probably should have done a while ago, but better late than never. So there's that. So that looks really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe this one off. And this one, I don't know how well this paper towel is going to do, because I want to use this over again. So let's see. Just even if I get some of it off, and we'll get the rest with. Now, one other thing you can do, and a lot of people have probably forgotten about this because we don't really use it as much anymore, now that we have all these other new marvelous devices. So we have our stamp cleaning pad, in case you guys forgot about that. That is still a big thing. So I will show you that. That one is right here, just thinking about it. And this one, what you do is you have one side wet, one side dry. So you spray this, and I'm going to show you because I haven't used this in some time and it smells really nice. So you spray this with Stampin' Mist, and then you can rub your stamp wet, then dry. But even if you don't necessarily have that, you still could use your Stampin' Mist and just spray your dirty stamp. And then, oh, I missed that smell. I haven't smelled it in a while. Been using the chamois. And then you just wipe off your stamp, and it gets it nice and clean. And then one other thing that's actually really, really good for using to clean, in case you haven't seen this, because this thing I really wasn't going to get because I was like, nah, I don't really need that, is the stamp cleaning pad. This is great for cleaning. It looks disgusting. It does come white when you first use it, but it cleans photopolymer if you clean them off right away afterwards. It also takes off a lot of the staining from Stays-On or stained rubber stamps, and it actually is really nice because it seems to have some sort of a conditioner in this. So if you don't have this, it does come with a refill as well that you can buy. It's clear. And the funny part is, I have no idea what this chemical is, but it definitely works really well. When you re-add the chemical to it, it actually whitens back up again. So you can see that I've used it a lot. But this is a great thing. This is in the catalog as well. So stamp cleaning pad, and then it does come with a refill. So just a couple ways to get your stamps clean. So you see that one looks really, really nice. So we do have to wait for this one to dry. So I'm going to try to go back to one of the beginning ones. I'm going to move my white for now because I think we are finished with that. And let us see. So this one is one we did first. I'm just going to heat this just a little with my heat tool, just to kind of dry it just slightly, because you do want to make sure that if you're going to do this technique with more than one layer of ink, especially, you want to make sure that the bottom layer is dry first. Another thing you could do first if you wanted to is if you were going to stamp this in, say, Mossy Meadow, and then you could stamp the white on top of it instead. So that's another idea. Now, if I was being really, really smart, what I probably would have done ahead of time, thinking about this now, is I probably would have done it with my Stamparatus. That way I could line it up and go over just a little bit. So since you're doing it after the fact, and you haven't made a card, I'm assuming you're not making one along with me, and you're going to do one where you're going to stamp it in white and then stamp it in a color afterwards, maybe use your Stamparatus, because that might get you a little bit better placement when you're lining it up. But again, that's why when I make these things, I try to give you guys tips as we go along of things that maybe I might not have thought of. Let me see if I can get this one dry. This one I might have to hit with the high heat, because this is, it kind of goes to a little bit not as bright of a white when it's dry. So just to look at this, you can see this side is most likely a little bit more dry because it's not as white, and this one's a little brighter, but it still will smudge. If we touch this now, it would still smudge. All right, so I'm just going to give that one a little head start, and we'll put this one on the side to dry. I'm going to go ahead and try to do my magnolia. Now, with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a color. You probably could do Mossy Meadow. That probably would be a neat idea, but I'm going to try to pick something a little bit brighter just to see if it shows up. Again, I've never done this before, so I'm not sure if it is or isn't going to show up. But I'm going to try Granny Apple Green just for the heck of it. So we'll see. So I'm just going to ink this in Granny Apple Green. Do want to make sure it's nicely inked. And then I'm going to do my best to line this up again. Probably would have been smarter with the Stamparatus. So if I lined it up exactly from where I look like I am, it's going to be here. But I want it to be just a little bit different. So I'm going to go over just a smidge. And we'll see. We'll see what this looks like. I do love the veins. I just saw that, Kathy. This is a great card, like I said, just on its own. So we'll do something. And I had a different idea for the navy, but I can't remember what I was going to do now that I think about it. Okay, so let's see. So that looks pretty cool. Definitely not what I thought it would look like. So the green, especially this part, I didn't line it up as well. So I must have had my angle just a little bit off, but it looks pretty cool. It kind of looks 3D. So this would be a neat thing to do. You could even sponge the edge of your card. You could sponge it with Mossy Meadow, which would look pretty neat. So let's just do that. Hold on real quick. Let me grab that ink just for the heck of it. So again, we stamped this with Granny Apple, something different. And you can actually see, depending on where it lined up, if it's on top of the white, which kind of looks pretty cool, it is much lighter. And then the stuff that's off to the side is a lot darker. So I have a sponge here that I'm trying to use one of the clean sides. And I'm just going to sponge the edge of this whole card. So this one we will make into a really, just a very simple card. And I say simple only in the fact of it's going to probably just have one layer. But even with one layer, and I'm still trying to be careful because I'm sure parts of this are wet. Especially if you stamp ink on top, it probably does reactivate the white just a little bit. I'm going to try to do a little heavier in the corner. So just sponging the edge. A little bit more in the corner. So just sponged, and it gives a lot of depth to the edge of the card. So this we cut down to 4 by 5 1/4. You could even cut it down farther to 3 3/4 by 5, layer something behind it, and then put it on the base card. So just depends. We will put this one together when we're finished though. Let me just wipe this off. That way I can put this back. And then we can move a couple of these things out of the way. So there's one. That looks pretty neat. And this one, again, this was a cling mount stamp set, but if you didn't have this in cling mount, you could use your clear mount and retro, which you put a little piece of the leftover cling on it, which I have done on a lot of them. So there is one. Now this one, we kind of said we were going to leave this as is because I think this is really pretty just with the white. So I'm not going to fool with this one at all. But I am going to put these guys back because I may end up doing a little bit something when we make this into a card eventually. So I'm going to put these back for now. And we'll move this one over here to dry. Then we also had the crackle. So this one you could do the same thing. Again, we could stamp this with a slightly different color. We could try to line it up, but because we did this upside down, we'd really have to be precise about where we put it. So it probably is, if I'm making a guess, we have this little guy here. There's a hole up here. I'm betting we probably did it that way, but it might not line up exactly. But just for the heck of it, let's try it. Now for this one, we're going to do the same color. So I'm going to go with Night of Navy just to see if it looks any different. My Night of Navy probably could use to be re-inked because it seems that I say that every single time and then I never re-ink this one. So, just going to do my best. And then I'm going to leave this out. So I remember to ink that. Okay, so now I'm going to do my best to kind of just line this up where I think it went. And where's my little scrap? Put this down. Now, the other thing you could do with some of these, if you're doing more of an image, so for example, if you did the magnolia, is you could even line it back up with your marker. So you could go in with the dark marker and just go over it in a couple places. So that's another idea. So this one has kind of like a double background because obviously I did not do a very good job of lining it up, but it does look kind of neat. So you have it's kind of like a double tone of the crackle, which does look really cool. So this is different. So that's something, a unique way of doing it, adding another layer of ink. Just wipe this guy off. This was one of the ones that really needs a good sink cleaning when we're done today. Okay. And let me just dry him off a little bit. Okay, so there's that one. So this was crackle paint. So that was white and then navy. So it's navy with white and then navy. So it's very tone on tone for that one. And then last but not least, we have the birch. Now this birch I can tell is still definitely wet. So I'm going to hit this. I thought it would dry by now. I'm going to dry it a little bit with my heat tool. Moving around to try to minimize the card warping. Other thing you can do is just kind of hit the back side. It'll help to flatten it back out a little bit. Not that it's necessarily drying it from both sides, but just trying to keep the cardstock from getting too warped looking. Okay, now for this one, what I was saying earlier, and I'm not sure if this is or isn't dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm just going to go over it just like this, just to see if there's any wet spots. I can pick up a little bit of the residual ink. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So what you could do is you could pick an ink color. So say if we did go with Blackberry Bliss, which would be a little bit dark. So I think I'm going to try Razzleberry, but you could always take, now this would be a little better if you had a very outlined image. So like a flower or something similar to that. But you could take your other marker and kind of go over top. Just on one side. Just with the, I would say with the brush tip. I'm going to hold this up in 1 second. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to leave some of them undone so you can see. So I'm not going to do this part right here. Okay, so what you're doing is basically adding a highlight of color. So this one doesn't have any. And this one, if you can see, there's just a low line down here, right about here, with some color. Okay, so then if you did this one, you would just go on the bottom. But another way to add color, and you could even do this in something that was opposite. So it gives a totally different feel, which, just a total side note, if you're ever looking for something with those long stratusy clouds for a background, you could totally skip this part, and this kind of looks like a sky. So just found another cool use for that one. So kind of just looks like those long, I think they're stratus, those long, thin clouds. And then just I'm not being super duper careful, so there is a little bit of ink going underneath onto the cardstock. But again, since it is a very similar color, so this one wasn't Blackberry, I used Razzleberry, which is probably one of my more underused colors. I don't think I use Razzleberry very much. But you could just take your marker and add a second tone to it. So it looks pretty cool. You could do this as a background for something. Okay, so now what we're going to try to do is we're going to see if we can. Let me move this out of the way, and I'll move this out of the way. We're going to see if we can make a few of these into cards. So you could do one of two things when you're doing this. You could keep it tone on tone, or you could bring in a contrasting color. So for example, with this card that's navy, navy, and white, we could bring in Lovely Lipstick, would look really nice with it. Same with this one. I know that the Mossy Meadow tends to pair more. They've done it with the petal pink, but I think grapefruit would look really nice with that as well. So let us take a look and see what we can do. Let me put these couple away so they're out of the way. Put your craft pads. Yeah, sure. Why not? At least it'll give you something else to, a different way of looking at it, right? Okay, so for this one is pretty tone on tone. It's not super duper exciting. So what we could do is one of two things. I have some white here, and I just happen to have thick whisper white because this is what I used last. So you could use this or you could use something different. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pick what size sentiment I kind of want to use. So this one again is using the So Sentimental bundle. So for this one, let's see. This would kind of look nice, just something. So let's see what fits in here. I can't thank you enough. Actually, your friendship is a blessing is kind of tight, but almost fits in there. Let me see. This one would fit in probably nicely too with the scallop. I don't know. I think I'm going to use this one here. Let me see if I can fit this in. So I'm going to do your friendship is a blessing. We could send this to somebody maybe needs a little bit of cheering up. And we're going to do it again, just bringing a little bright to it. We're going to do it in Lovely Lipstick, and then I'm going to see if this fits in well. So I'm going to ink this up with Lovely Lipstick. So this is one of the retiring colors. And make sure I have this over enough that I'll be able to cut it. All right, I know it's crooked, but that's no big deal. It's going to get cut out anyway. And let me wipe this off. Okay, so I'm going to put this really quickly into the die cut machine. Oh, here's another piece of white. It's a little bit tight, but I'm going to bring it as close as I can to not cutting anything. And at the same time, whoops, hopefully keeping it straight. Actually, lined up pretty good considering, because I almost got I have the tip of the P and the F on there. So we can do something like that. Again, very simple card, not anything terrifically complicated. I lost my stamp set here somewhere. Here it is. I'm going to put this one back. So there is one. So we'll just pop this together. Let me grab my navy again. And move this over for a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to score this in half at 4 1/4, and then cut it in half at 5 1/2, and then we'll pop this together. So you could do just a very simple one-layer card. Make sure I use my bone folder so it's nice and crisply closed. You could even put a bit of, if you wanted to jazz it up a little bit, you could put a little bit of white ribbon. Lots of different things you can do, but we're going to keep this one really simple. So I'm just going to put some glue. And the only thing I'm going to do to make this a little bit, now granted you will need a white layer on the inside of this navy card. I'm going to put this up on dimensionals. That's the only thing I'm going to do to bring it up a little bit. And with using the white cardstock, even though this is thick whisper white, I would definitely say to use the white dimensionals, because sometimes especially if you use the regular white cardstock, it does show through and it looks like you have dirt spots on the back of your card. So kind of be mindful of that. So we'll just, simple card, look at that. Really easy. Okay, just like that. So there's one. Now with this one, we said we could add a layer of something else to it. So let's do this. I'm going to see if it might be a tight cut, but I'm going to do it anyway. So here's what we're going to do. We'll do Sahara Sand, another color I don't use terrifically often. So I'm going to cut this. So this is 4 by 5 1/4. So we only want it to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go with 4 and 2/8 by 5 and 2/8. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1/8. Those are 1/8. Sorry, 4 and 1/8 by 5 and 1/8. It would be 4 and second layer on there. What did I do? Maybe I didn't cut this one correctly. Hold on. Hold please. Yep, that's why. This is too long. Hold on. I'm going to trim this off, and I'm just going to re-sponge this edge really quickly. Did I do this by 4? Okay. Now it is 4 by 5. It wasn't 4 by 5 before. Let me see if I can find my green. So it's just 1/8 of a layer. Now, instead of just putting this on like that, it is very thin. I'm actually going to stamp the sentiment on here, okay? And we're going to cut it out. So let's see what we could do. We have Good Morning Magnolia. Where's my other part? We could do something like Thinking of You Today. The journey of life is best shared with a friend. Let's do that one, but we're not going to put it on the front. We're going to put it on the inside. So let me see. I think that one's here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stamp this in. Let me put this over here. Pick this one up. Try to make it so it's, at least I think it's remotely straight. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do it just to keep with some cohesion for the card. I'm going to do it in a Mossy Meadow. This is actually a really good stamp. I'm going to put this in the middle. My inky's a little off, but it's okay. I'm going to leave it. I probably over smushed on the one part, but no big deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, just with sticking with the same because I already have it out, I'm going to take the So Sentimental bundle and I'm going to use one of the scallops and cut that out. All right, so I'm going to do my best to kind of line this up so it's straight-ish. That looks pretty good. Hopefully it's remotely straight. I'm going to run this through the die cut machine. All right, now granted, remember, you are still going to need something, or you could just add this to your layer. So you could add a white layer inside because we're going to put this on Mossy Meadow, or you could stamp this up that you could leave enough room to write there. What we're going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue right here. Okay, and I'm going to put this one down on top. Again, it's going to be a very thin layer. Just kind of enough to give a layer to take it away from the mossy. So, oh goodness, excuse me. My stomach is growling. All right, so I already have a piece here we can use. Now, just to give this, and this one isn't scored. Let me score this. Just gonna fold it to be simple. Okay, just to give this a little something, we could, and something tells me this isn't exactly 4 1/4, let's see. Yep. That was 4 1/2. So we're going to line this just like that. Okay. So just to give this a little something, what we could do is we could add a little bit of ribbon across it. We could add, and I'm going to add just a thin one. So I really like this. If you guys remember, the braided linen trim is very pretty. I might actually change the orientation of this. Maybe I'll put the ribbon at the top instead. And I'm going to wrap it around before I attach it. So I'm just going to tie a knot. Let's see if this looks like it's going to kind of line up about right. Move this over just a little. Still just a teeny bit too far. So we'll kind of go like that. You can spread this ribbon out if you want as well. So if you want it to be a little bit bigger, You just have to remember, if you spread it out, you want to account for that before you cut it, because when you spread it out, it does become a little bit shorter. So we'll kind of go like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of, just to get it to stick, I'm going to put some fast fuse back here. Does this one want to work? Okay. So I think we kind of started that I wanted the knot on this side where it was kind of a little bit emptier. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Not too wide, but just enough that it gives you a little room when you're moving it. So we're going to go like this and this. Bring this around the back. So that's not too taut. And I'm going to just trim off these little pieces here just so I have less stuff to stick. You could stick this up with dimensionals if you wanted to. Might be a nice idea. So we'll do that on this one. Just make it a little bit, since we have that ribbon there. We'll just put a couple dimensionals. You could do a piece of fun foam if you have that instead. That way you could put it over the whole entire back. Up to you. Let me grab my little tool here that this tends to hook them a little better. This is my old paper piercer that has a little hook on the end, which I was a little upset by, but boy, it sure makes handy when you're taking off these dimensional backings because it sticks on there. You could also use take your pick tool. All right, so there's that. Let me move this back over and flip this. So we could just put this right on here. Kind of trying to line it up, make sure it's, for the most part, straight. You could put a little bit of adhesive underneath if you want to keep it straight, but that's good enough just how it is. And then you can either put a white piece here and then put this on, but I'm going to just put it on just like this. I'm going to do liquid glue though, because sometimes I have a tendency to put these things on a little crooked. So pop that one on like that. So nice. We use the underneath piece of this in case you missed that. Stamp this, die cut it. So there's another card. Again, very, very simple. So those are the two that had the stamping with them. And we have another piece that is just very plain. So for this one, what we're going to do, let me grab another piece of that Mossy Meadow because I'm going to do this the same. This one's already cut, so I'm just going to use this. And let me make sure, I'm hoping I trimmed this correctly. Now that I think about that one, I goofed that one up, let's see. 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so this is at least the correct measurement. So this one, what we're going to do is we're going to adhere this, but then we're going to add a little something extra to it instead. Okay, so for this, we have our leaves. Okay, now what I thought we could do for this one, and this one is one I did have the idea in my head, is we can stamp the tree onto, say, a circle, a stitch circle. We'll try that. Or we could even use one of these layering stitched rectangles. We could stamp this, and we're going to stamp a greeting. So let me grab my other, where's the other one? Here it is. And we're going to add this one with something here. So thinking of you, we'll do that. So let's see, we have thinking of you. And the only other thing we need is the tree. Use this tall tree here. So let me see if we can fit this on. So what I want to do is, I'm going to pick up my tree. I'm going to do this in Mossy Meadow, but I'm going to stamp it off first. So it's the same color, however, it's just a different hue or tone of it. So I'm going to ink this up really well, stamp it off, then stamp it. Could probably even have stamped it off more than once if you wanted to. Oops, let me move this over. And grab my sentiment. Nope, not going to fit that one. And thinking of you. Make Make sure it's inked up really nicely. And put this right here. Okay, so really simple. Let me move these two over because they're not cleaned yet. And let's see what we can cut this out from. So you could do, if you wanted to do something circular, you could do that. Let's see if this would fit. A little bit tight for that one. This one is a little big and I'm afraid it would take up too much space. So I'm going to grab, just because I do have them here, I'm going to grab my stitched shapes and see if this would fit with the circle. I feel like it will mostly. All right, so I'm going to cut it out with that. I know it's going to cut a little bit of it out, but I'm kind of okay with that. So we'll kind of make sure we definitely have the sentiment. We have the most part of the tree, and I'm going to just put some purple tape on here just to hold this where I want it. All right, I'm going to run this through the die cut. Okay. So here is this, and let's see what this looks like together. One. Okay. All right, so this is nice just as it is. I wouldn't sponge it just because I think it would be a lot actually. So I'm going to just put these down just as they are. You could put the circle up on dimensionals if you wanted to, if you wanted to add a little extra. But for this one, I'm just going to put it straight down. So there's that. So this is just a 4 1/4 layer. I'm still trying not to touch it too much. I'm afraid it's a little wet. You okay? There was a calamity sound from downstairs. Lord knows what that is. And I'm going to just pop this up here. I'm hoping it was just the dish in the sink. I'm just going to put this over. Like so. So easy. Okay. We only use, for this card, it's just all the same ink. We just stamped this one off first. I know it's a little crooked. It's probably should have lined it up a little bit better when I stamped it, but otherwise I think that's okay. So we have one last one. So this one was the birch background. So I'm going to stick with the same thing. I'm going to try to do a tree-ish theme for this one if I can, only because we have a wooden background. This would even be nice with this stamped off. Words are never enough. You can always cut these. We could do these little guys. Let's do these too, because I think these would look nice. So for this one, peel this apart for a second. For this one, what we could do is we could do a contrasting color. Use these two. Or we could use something, we could use the same color, but I'm going to try something different. So let's see. Where is, I thought I had one more. Here's one more piece. One more piece. So I'm going to do the same color for these guys and then a little bit different for the words. Actually, maybe I should do the words in the same color and I'll do these in something different. So if you're looking for something, so we have Blackberry Bliss, something that's kind of opposite of it. We could go with a blue. It's probably would be a little bit too much to do a balmy blue. We could probably do a navy. A navy might not look bad. That would be a little bit dark though. If you were to pick a color to go with this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp the words are never enough. And I'm going to stamp that just on the edge here because I think I'm going to trim it out. What color do you think would be a good color? So give me your ideas. A male that puts a dish in a sink. I'm trying to train him well. He's only 6. He still has potential, right? That way his wife will not be mad at me. Although he says he's living here forever, so I don't really know. All right, so I have the words, so I'm going to do that. But I want to still do something different for the leaves. Black would be kind of nice. You could even do like a gray. Black would not be so bad if you stamped it off and then we cut it out and we layer the words are never enough. Soft seafoam, that's a good idea because that would be like a light green. I kind of like that. I wonder if it would be too light, though. Soft Seafoam or Pear Pizzazz would equally be good. Let's try Soft Seafoam first. What the heck? We'll try that. If it's too light, we can always add in something else. Now, when you do Soft Seafoam, I will tell you one thing. It's really hard to stamp off in Soft Seafoam because it doesn't tend to show up at all. So I'm going to do this over here. And I'm going to stamp one off so you can see. It's really, really, really light. I just re-inked mine, so it's a little bit darker than it would be. So there's that. Let's see. Let me do one of these. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a little combo. Instead of black, I'm going to bring in a gray. So we'll do Soft Seafoam, and then this is Gray Granite. I'll do the same thing with that stamped off. Kind of just continuing with it because I don't really know exactly where I'm going to cut this from yet. Oh, wrong color. Crackers. Well, at least it was a light into a dark. Might have goofed that one up. We'll see. We'll see what it's going to look like. Wipe these two off. That's why it's dangerous having two ink pads open at the same time, especially if you're me. All right, so same thing again. So we have this. Because we're going to do this thin and we're going to put it on, let's see if we can do... I'm going to do a smaller one. So back to So Sentimental. So I'm going to just cut this piece out with, and actually let me trim this off first just so I have it here when we're done. Now I know I cut that a little wonky, but my plan is to trim to the words, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing here. So let me put this here. And I'm going to put a piece of tape just to hold that in place. Alrighty, so since we're wrapping up here, just remember, be sure you do leave a comment. I am going to pick the ladybug person off of this. And there we go. If you need any of these supplies, you can absolutely go to my online store and grab any of this stuff and just trim these up. I'm going to trim them really, really close. And I'm going to trim them individually. So let me cut this one. I did smudge this just a little bit, but I think someone gets this card, they'd probably be happy to get a card. I don't think they're going to be worried about the smudges. So I'm going to do words. R. And then we cut this. Never enough. Okay. So, one other thing I want to do. What do I want to do? I feel like I want to sponge that, but I think it's going to be too much. So I'm not going to. So I'm going to do my very best to just put a tiny bit of glue on this and kind of arrange these. I actually think if you look at this in the background, just with these leaves, I think that would be a nice card, like a nice card background. Gray Granite and Soft Seafoam. That was a pretty nice color combination. Make sure this is straight-ish. So if you wanted to make a card, I think those colors will be really nice together. Maybe you know someone who's going through a extra tough time now because they are stuck inside by themselves. My dad is sadly by himself inside because I'm sure you all know I've talked about it before. My mom passed away very unexpectedly, so I'm sure it is hard for him. He is stuck in by himself day after day. Let me just make sure this is 4 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead while I have this out and just score this at 5 1/2. This would be a nice card to send to someone that you know might be having a little bit of extra loneliness right now. But hopefully, even in addition to sending them a card, you could call and chat with them. Okay, and this one I feel like I do want to add a little bit of ribbon to. So, let's see. I'll put this here. And I'm going to add something really, really simple. So I'm just going to add some white flax ribbon. Just because I was thinking of maybe doing the silver edge, but I think the white flax will be nice just because it's just something simple. So I'm going to bring my fast fuse, put this around. I'm not going to pull it too tight because if you do, it will tend to kind of bend your cardstock. So I'm just going to give this a trim. And let me make sure. So what I want to do is I want it to be tight, but I don't want it to be too tight that it's pulling. Let's see. I'll put this right there. That's nice, I think, just like that. And I'm going to just put this down with, I'm not going to put it down with dimensionals. I'm just going to put it down with fast fuse, or if you have a different type of adhesive. I still have some fast fuse left, thank goodness. I am close to running out of it, and I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on top of this ribbon just to make sure it stays. Okay, so we're going to put this on here. And then, oops, I got a little smudge there. I'm going to put a couple dimensionals behind this. There they are. I'm like, where did my white dimensionals go? I just had them out, which is usually why I can't find them. Okay, so same thing again. Just give these a nice press. Come on. There we go. Okay, so kind of a different card with the little pieces. If you didn't want to do the pieces, you could even put them in a line and trim them out and put them on there as well. But I think these are 4. Let me move this stuff out of the way because I'm going to try to clean just a teeny bit while I'm wrapping this up with you guys. But that way you will be able to see the 4 cards that we made. Again, we did these with white craft ink. Dark colors, these 2 we stamped white and then we picked a color and stamped on top of them, not necessarily the same color. This one was Night of Navy. This one I ended up using Granny Apple Green. Some we just did the white on. This one we did the white, and actually, as a matter of fact, since I've done it, it is actually upside down when I added that part before with the marker, but it still looks really pretty. So another nice idea to be able to do with your card. This one I want to make sure I keep out to re-ink. So lots of simple ideas. You probably own at least one of these stamp sets, I'm sure. So you could make this into either any cards for anyone, but you'll be able to make it easily without having to go out and get something, hopefully. So I thank you all very, very much for joining me again today. I hope that you have found this as a useful video to give you something nice to be able to make and maybe share with your friends, hopefully with some supplies that you have on hand so you don't have to buy anything. We do have a new suite, however, that is available to customers starting today. It was available to demonstrators prior, and it is a really pretty stamp set. But I have to tell you, it is very, for me anyway, it's very reminiscent of like a 60s or 70s, kind of somewhere in between there, wallpaper sheet pattern. And if you guys get a look at this, you let me know if you think the same. I haven't ordered it yet. I do want to order the DSP because it really, really reminds me of a set of sheets that I remember my mom having as growing up. It's really pretty. It's a daisy pattern. So it's a really, really pretty, pretty background paper, and actually the stamp set is very nice too because it is a line art, so you could use it to color in if you wanted to. Lots of different possibilities, but it really, really reminds me of a set of sheets that my mom had. So that's definitely why I'm going to get it, because you know, everyone I think right now could use a good dose of nostalgia, myself included. So I was like, as soon as I saw that, I thought I have to order that because it's such a pretty paper. But it's a really pretty stamp set. There's many options. It has ribbon, it has a folder, it has embellishments. There's 2 different stamp sets, 2 different die sets. You can buy the whole thing. There's lots of pieces that you could just pick and choose, so it could be a little bit that you could be more thrifty with it. But the best part is it's going to be in the new catalog that will be coming out. And that comes out in June for customers. It comes out in May for demonstrators. And as a matter of fact, if you want to join as a demonstrator, and if you're deciding to wait and see what's going on with everything financial-wise, which I understand, you actually can pick things from the new catalog, which will be our pre-order stuff, as your demonstrator kit. So that's pretty cool as well. So I hope you guys like these cards. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave me a message here. I do really try to check all my messages. I apologize if I don't get to them as fast as I think I'm going to, or maybe you would expect a response. Only because sometimes Facebook doesn't give you all the messages. So in that case, you can always email me at rachthestamper@gmail.com, because I always get those messages. It might take me a little bit longer to reply, but those I do always get. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you would like to get anything in my online store, you can find the host code always on my Facebook page or on my blog, which is rachthestamper.com. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I am going to try to come on, not necessarily today, but the Rainbow Stamper did want to make a card. So he's going to make a card within the next 3 days. So probably not today, maybe tomorrow or Friday he wanted to make a card. So stay tuned for that. If you aren't already, I would love for you to give my page a thumbs up, leave me a comment, share it with a friend. Same thing on YouTube. You can either give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. And if you're on YouTube, make sure that you click the subscribe button and then hit the bell for notifications. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all again real soon. Bye-bye.